When is the best time to talk about the UniFi Cloud Key Gen 2 Plus? When the kids are asleep. This video is going to focus on the Cloud Key and its purpose in the network. As I mentioned in a prior video, the Cloud Key is a hardware controller that works with a variety of resources that UniFi provides, such as the network, protect, and access platforms. These are applications that run on the UniFi OS. But before we dive into the unboxing video and how it fits into the rack mount kit that UniFi provides, I'd like to go a little bit into the details of the specifications of the box and what it can do. On UniFi's website, we can find the Cloud Key Gen 2 Plus underneath accessory text, cloud keys, and gateways. This device is designed for small to medium businesses as well as a SOHO deployment, that's small office, home office. What it comes with is a 1 terabyte HDD, which is a spinning disk. You can also use PoE to power the device. It also has an alternative USB-C slot. It does not come with the USB-C hardware or a power brick, so if you need to power it with USB-C, you have to provide that hardware separately. Typically, in most deployments, when you're using this, you have access points, protect cameras, all things that are PoE powered. It's likely that you're going to have a PoE switch in the environment that you're using this in. What it also provides is access to the network system, the protect system, and the access control system. These are called applications inside of the UniFi OS. And they allow us to manage the access points, they allow us to manage the cameras, doorbell, chime, all of those systems, as well as from the access control perspective, the door locking system and all of the low voltage systems that UniFi provides for access control. What we're going to transition into is the unboxing video that's going to show you how the UniFi Cloud Key Gen 2 is set up. You're going to see the drive bay. You're going to see how you connect it into the rack mount kit. There's a little sticker on the back that we have to remove in order to expose some gold teeth that connect into the connector. So you'll see all of that, and then we'll go into the software side. We'll jump on the PC, take a look at how you set up the Cloud Key Gen 2, and also how you can access it remotely, which is one of the nice features about this platform. The ability to manage it from a single pane of glass from anywhere. That said, it is always recommended that when you're setting up a UniFi account, or any account for that matter, to use multi-factor authentication. That way you're extra protected against any malicious actors that are trying to get in your account, especially if you're going to set this up in a home office or home network scenario. You want to make sure that's locked down. Let's go ahead and transition to the unboxing video and the rack mount kit setup. Okay. Here we have all the other equipment unboxed, and we're going to show off the Cloud Key Gen 2 Plus. What I'm pointing out right there is the sticker that needs to come off in order to expose a set of gold teeth that connect into a receiving port on the rack mount kit. Strongly encourage anybody to hop on Amazon and go ahead and get yourself a PC toolkit. These often come with little plastic tools that help you not scratch every single thing that comes out of the box. This case, I couldn't use that plastic tool, it didn't have enough bite, so I have a pair of tweezers in there, and it's a little tough to get under there. In most of the deployments that I've done, I ended up scratching a corner, but good thing you don't really see it because it's inside the rack mount kit. But you can see it's a little tough to get under there. Once you peel it back, it exposes those gold teeth that need to connect into the rack mount kit. What I'm going to do here too is go ahead and show you the hard drive bay. There's a little connector, a push button right there. You can push out and it pops that drive bay right out. So you can see it's pretty easy to replace that 2.5-inch drive spinning disk. Again, as I mentioned before, you can replace that with an SSD if you wish, do whatever you need to do with it. So here's the back of the rack mount kit. You can slide that open. There's two styles of Cloud Key. There's one that's a little bit more narrow. This is obviously the wider one. And you position it with those gold teeth facing up. I didn't get a good shot of it here, but you can see where the teeth fit in. And then the display goes right into the screen. It actually inverts the display because when you insert the Cloud Key Gen 2, it is actually upside down in the rack mount kit. So here we're going to plug in to a PoE switch and start getting this device powered on. So as soon as it gets power to it, you'll start seeing the LED indicator flash on and the LCD display will start to read data. The boot process is pretty quick. You'll hear the spinning drive doing its thing. You'll see the UniFi logo flash on the display screen, and then you'll start seeing some information coming up. It does take a little bit to boot, so we'll go ahead and speed that process up so we can get through to the fun stuff. So as this is going through the boot process, some things to think about. You're going to need a PoE switch or a USB-C connector to power this on. You also need to make sure your network is set up to hand out DHCP, which is Dynamic Host Configuration Protocol. It's the method by which a device can hand out IPv4 addresses on a network. This will allow it to connect to your network and talk out to the internet. It needs to talk to UniFi to connect the console, to be able to connect it locally, to get to the local interface, which we'll see later in the video, and also to pull updates down, because as these come out of the box, they could have been units or inventory that sat on a shelf for a little bit. In this case, this one had a way older version of firmware that had to be walked up a few versions. You want to make sure you have good network connectivity. All of those things are prerequisites. There's tons of documentation out there. If you have any questions, you can put that in the comments. I'd be more than happy to help you walk through that. But those are some prerequisites that you need. You need to have internet connectivity, local connectivity, and any PC that you're working on has to be able to talk to this device on that same network. Once the device is fully loaded, you'll start seeing options on the screen to download the app. We're not going to use the application to set this up, but you can use a mobile app. But it'll provide information, it'll provide the IP address of the device so you can connect to it, and it'll also show the applications that we discussed: Network, UniFi Protect. And there you go, there's your IP address. So we're going to punch that in, we're going to get over to the PC and get this thing set up. Through the magic of video editing, you're going to see me change night into day. You're also going to see my hair become gelled and me wearing a different shirt. No, I'm not magic. I ended up recording the UCK install on a separate video and wanted to use that for this purpose. We're going to walk through all of the steps on the PC side of the enrollment of the device, getting it set up for network and protect. Now we're going to transition to the PC, where we can use a web browser to set up the UniFi Cloud Key Gen 2 Plus. Once you plug this into the network, and if your network has DHCP and it hands out IP addresses automatically, the device will get an IP address and display that on the front LCD screen. You'll be able to take that and pop that into a web browser and get to the UI page of the Ubiquiti Cloud Key. From there, it's as simple as clicking the setup button and starting to name the device. As we go through this process too, I want to show you very quickly that the device will start blinking blue and indicating that it is going through a setup process. This is common, it's supposed to do that, and we'll make sure that we complete the setup and make sure the front LCD shows that everything is completed. We're going to agree to the terms of service. We'll continue forward. This is going to be a personal setup, but if you do set it up for a business, it's just data that UniFi is gathering on the setup process of the device. So here's where the UniFi account is important to have. So we'll go ahead and get our UniFi account ready. Once you log in, it'll bring you to the update schedule. You can set this daily, weekly, whatever is needed for you. I typically set it weekly on Saturdays, right around 3 a.m. And that's just an automatic update schedule. Send diagnostic information. I choose to. That's a personal decision on what you want. Then you can see all the information around the account. Here we can see it's setting up the console, and you'll see it on the front display of the console that it is in setup process. It's going to take a few minutes. Once the setup's complete, you'll get brought to the UniFi login page, where you'll again use that UniFi account to log in. And as soon as we logged in, we can see that the console's updating. So it does have a network address, it does have internet connectivity. So what it's doing is reaching out to UniFi and pulling down any device updates to make sure the console is on the latest firmware version. All of those things are good. It's also going to start installing the network and protect components. By default, those two features are installed on the UCK. They have the access and other features that are available on it, but those have to be installed manually later if you want those features out of the box. One thing to note as well is the device will turn off and turn back on again as it goes through the update process. I'll just show you real quick here. As you see, it is verifying the update. You'll actually hear as the device turns off, the spinning drive will turn off and turn back on again, and you'll continue to see updates on the front display screen. It may take some time. Typically these happen in over 10 to 15 minutes to complete the updates. You can walk away at this point and allow the device to do it. I've had it go as quickly as 5 to 7 minutes, but it all depends on your network connection and the speeds which you can communicate to UniFi from the device. One other nice feature is you do get progress bars on the front display, so you can see a little bit of what's going on and try to guesstimate how much time you're going to have left. You don't really get that information in the web portal, but on the front display of the device you do. Once it is fully updated, you will see the information that you changed in the setup process reflected on the front screen. It is still continuing to load, so it's not fully online yet. Once it is, we'll see here on the screen that that process will change, or that interface will change rather, and we'll be able to start configuring devices. And as the device updates, you'll start seeing it scroll through its menus. And what's nice is you can see all of the features that are installed by default, network and protect being the two. You can see that there is an access point on the network. It's detecting my existing AP, though it is not adopted to this cloud key. You can also see protect from the camera system, which we're going to set up later. We'll get the switch and everything else squared away shortly here, and you can see what it looks like when there's actually devices in traffic, and it starts to record that data, and you can start to see displays and consoles and dashboards on the cloud key as to what's going on in those various network components. So if that screen doesn't refresh itself, you can go ahead and refresh it. Again, here we're just confirming when those updates occur, and this is for any UniFi applications. You can see that it's automatically updated, and that helps again with management and administration. You just want to make sure you know what updates are coming out and that you're paying attention to when that schedule is happening, just in case there's any issues after the fact. All right, so we can see that we have the network component, so we can go in here and check the UCK. There's not going to be any AC. Well, there is an access point, but it's managed by a software console. So what you have to do in order to get that adopted to a new cloud key on a network is factory reset it. So we'll have to back up all of our configuration settings for the wireless network and then factory reset the access point, enroll it, adopt it, and provision that network to it so it can start broadcasting the existing SSIDs or the wireless networks out. So if we go into UniFi OS, we can see that we want to manage updates here and look at the latest version for the UniFi software, because we can update that, and we're going to walk it up a few versions here. You can see you're jumping from 2.5 to 3.0, and it's going to provide a completely different interface than what we're seeing here. It's a more advanced UI, different features, different display, so it's more of an aesthetic change than anything else, but there are some functionality benefits to upgrading. So you always want to make sure you have the latest firmware versions on your system. So we're going to go ahead and update that now. This is a good opportunity to walk away and grab a sandwich because it's going to take some time to complete. So we'll fast forward through that process and show you what it looks like after that firmware is complete. One of the perks of doing this recording thing is figuring out how to do it and learn as you go. I deleted a huge portion of the clip that was going through the information after the firmware update. So what I've done is I put on the screen the OS after the update from 2.5 to 3.0 and after updating the network and protect applications. I want to go through quickly before we dive into, and this is going to end up being another video, the adoption process and what devices look like, just some administration setup that I'd like to go through on these devices. As I mentioned before, with your network, you want to make sure you have things like DHCP set up. All of the other components that you're going to need to consider is, what is your network scheme? What do you want your IP address, your local IP address of this device to be? And also making sure that you can access it from the UniFi portal. On the screen right now, you can see that I'm hitting the local IP address of this device to get into the interface. However, with cloud-enabled support, I can go in remotely to the UniFi portal with my UniFi account and access that same console. You'll notice that it looks the same on both screens, near identical. There's a little bit of a difference between the access and connect icons. Not anything significant. It's all the same operating system, all the same interface. But some things that I like to do is look at the About console, see what's going on as far as the basic information, MAC address, see how the system's performing. Take a look at the storage, see what's being used. You can see disk information, also system logs. They do have push notifications, which are nice. So you can set alarms for different functions or activities. For example, if you're using the NVR service and you want to make sure that you get an alert if the hard drive is about to fail, which is pretty critical, you can go ahead and set those up. You can also set up if there's console updates available for the console. Now, keep in mind that anything downstream will not reboot if you go ahead and reboot the UCK. So when you run updates on the UCK, it doesn't impact anything downstream. It's not rebooting access points and rebooting cameras. It's simply rebooting the controller software. So as soon as that checks back in, it re-registers with those devices and you're able to manage it again. So when you're thinking about administration, don't think too much about rebooting the controller. It's not going to cause any outages, so to speak, downstream. You also have admin activity and then backups created. It's also good to have a backup schedule. We set that in the beginning when we were going through the initial setup process, so you want to make sure that that's good. I don't set alarms for it because it would just be noise. I know that the backups are happening. If you go into the console settings, this is where you can see your console name, location, time zone, all of that relevant information. Here's where the remote access is enabled. If you disable that, you will not be able to access it from UniFi. You can also turn on SSH if you want to console into this using a terminal emulator, something like PuTTY, to get into the CLI or command line interface of the unit. Typically, you don't need to do that. That's why you have the UI, but if you like the CLI and you want to give it a shot, that's something you can do. You also have general console controls, restart, shutdown, transfer ownership. You can do a factory reset from here. And if you ever need to engage UniFi support, you can go ahead and do that. I also like to set a static IP address on these units so that I know what that IP address is. It's outside of my DHCP scope, so it's not going to be assigned to any devices and there's not going to be a conflict. You can also see what UniFi devices are on here. So you can see that I've already started adopting a number of devices. That includes the doorbell, there's a chime, which is a really cool feature I'm excited to show a video on, the bullet camera, and the switch. So you can go into these devices, see more information, and we'll dive into the different applications like network and protect on a later video. This is the general setup of the UCK. It is not terribly complex from a technical perspective, but once you have it up, you have a lot of power in your network. You can start adopting devices, especially if you're setting it up brand new. You can start adopting devices and managing your network and your protect infrastructure right from this single pane of glass. If you have an existing network of UniFi equipment, you can start factory resetting, but it's strongly recommended that you know your backups, you have your backup configuration, and you know your network, so in case you need to rebuild something, you have the ability to do so. However, I've gone through a lot of deployments of these UCKs, mainly with access points. The process is straightforward. You reset the access point, you associate it, or adopt, as UniFi calls it, adopt it to the cloud key, and then you provision your networks and your wireless networks. So it begins broadcasting those networks. You have users log in, test it, make sure they have connectivity, and you're off to the races. So this has been the UniFi Cloud Key Gen 2 setup. If there's any questions at all, please leave them in the comments. Let me know what you think. I'm looking for feedback on these videos so I can keep improving them as I continue creating them. And hopefully this was useful if you're looking to get a UCK for your house or you're looking to use it in a business setting. Either case, it's applicable and these are solid devices. Look forward to seeing you on the next one. Thanks.